All right, good afternoon / good evening. It's 5:30, February 16th, 2026. We're here for a work session on the Community Action Fund. Allie Sloan and Eric Lundblade from the Community Foundation of the Greater Clemson will present an investment and allocation plan for Community Action Fund. And then, of course, we'll start our regular council meeting at the conclusion of this work session. We will take a short break in between. So, with that said, Andy, did you want to start off this conversation or just jump right in with Allie?
I'll just say this is a proposal for how to invest and allocate the money that you receive from development contributions towards low to moderate income initiatives.
Perfect.
All right.
Great.
All right, Allie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us up here. Thank you for your time. What I want to talk about today is a proposal to use this money for an endowment with the Community Foundation of Greater Clemson. Some of you may know us as the Clemson Community Foundation. First, I want to talk about how to use an endowment and where the Community Foundation of Greater Clemson was founded. I love our history. I think it's a really unique history. Most community foundations were started with one big check, and that is not how our community foundation started. Our community foundation started around the table of Leadership Clemson, and that's so special. I'm going through Leadership Clemson right now, and that's exciting to think about that around the table of Leadership Clemson, a group got together, they chipped in $100 apiece, and out of that came a community foundation, and it's still thriving today. So out of that, I just want to talk about what are the possibilities of this money. Out of the possibilities, you can form an endowment, and an endowment is endless out of that. So in front of you, you have a proposal of a philanthropic arm. And there's many possibilities that can come from this, but throughout it, you can see that this endowment can lead structures for both grant making, and it can lead into grant making and fund future projects ahead. So what's interesting about grant making is that currently we know that you grant out towards nonprofits in your area. And so having Eric as our investment manager, you can see throughout here in the proposal how our endowment with Eric has grown over the years. In 2025 alone, we saw a 16.9% growth, which is unbelievable. In 2024, we saw 11% growth. So it's not that 2025 was just an outlier. We see it year in, year again with Eric. So we see grant making as an opportunity with the fund, but we also see, municipal projects around the city. You can also do things like fund projects around the city. You can have strong fiduciary oversight. You have future focused planning. You start a fund out of this, and out of that, you have tax-free ways to fund projects, which is very exciting when you think about it, that you get to fund projects without any sort of it's tax-free for all of your citizens around. This is cost-effective stewardship that we're looking at. With Eric in mind, we have fiduciary oversight and management, as well as I'm sorry. I need to take a minute. I was planning to have
PowerPoint.
yeah,
Presentation.
a presentation with me.
You're good. Take your
You're
time. Yep, take your time.
No worries, take it easy.
Yep.
It's all good.
Do y'all mind if I grab my phone?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is casual, do it.
While you're doing that, can you explain what an endowment is?
Absolutely. I would
So-
love to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Okay, so an endowment is like it's basically a savings account on steroids.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it is not. It is a savings account that you can only pull a portion of that out of. You cannot. You protect the corpus every year. You cannot liquidate the full savings account. Okay, so the full savings account is protected, and you pull 3 to 5% out year over year.
So roughly like interest? No, is this, it's not in an it's not interest bearing, it's just, you said savings account
Yeah.
on steroids, so,
Yes, so I'll help out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to make things
No,
complicated.
no, please don't.
I'm Eric Lumbley, by the way, for the folks that I have not met. So Clemson resident, offices 602 College Avenue. So actually, part of Leadership Clemson 2013. So I was in the room when, I deserve no credit, but I was in the room when this was coming up. It was awesome. I was kind of amazed that we didn't have a foundation in our awesome community. And so in 2022, J.C. Cook and some others came in and said, hey, we wanted to bring this local and talk to me. And so that's how I got involved. One, class of 2013, but then also 2022, we brought it into Clemson's Rec Management. So to answer your question, the endowment, it's just a vehicle for long-term purposes of creating some kind of capital that's going to be coming out. And so the type of payout is really determined on kind of the investment policy statement, like how much risk are we taking, will determine what's sustainable to withdraw from it over time.
Understood,
So,
gotcha.
and that's in here, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit, but
But
that's kind of the 30,000-foot view of what the endowment is. Just an account that can hold the money with its primary purpose of producing income, the secondary purpose of growing those assets, and then being a place that can collect funds for future donations as well.
And you protect the core, as Ally was saying. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
So as I was saying, this is, while our foundation was built by our neighbors, I believe that's what makes it very special. It's what sets us apart from others. We're right here, we're local, we use Eric, he's local. We have strong fiduciary oversight with Eric. Our brief history is, we had 2013, we had Leadership Clemson. Our executive directors came on in 2016, Billy D. We had Susan Sharp come on in 2020. We transitioned to Eric in 2022. And then from there, we moved from City Hall into Rise Financial in 2023. And then we created our first Giving Circle in 2024, and I came on in 2025. A little bit about our board, I'll be glad to let you know about. We have 15 board members. They are all rolling board members so that we have strong governance. We don't, let all of them roll off at one time. We have our Finance and Investment Committee that meets monthly. So we are always reviewing policies and procedures and all of that. Our executive committee currently has 2 historical board members and 2 new board members on it. And that is made up of Joe Yaksich, David Chuddick, Deborah Williams, and Darren Sartain. And then I'm in the position of executive director, and Shannon Quattlebaum is our program coordinator. She is part-time. As I mentioned, with our endowment growth, I have a chart in there for the last 5 years. If you can see that in your packet.
Is that it?
That's
No.
how
Oh,
our
sorry.
breakdown happens over grant making.
This one?
Yes, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, great.
And then we also have some definitions of what is an endowment and what is not an endowment. And then an endowment is a permanent fund, and it is supposed to be meeting the long-term needs of our community. It goes towards sustainment, where the funds are invested and preserved. And I'll be happy to email this out to everyone, just so that y'all can kind of know this in your head of what an endowment does do. It's a financial tool for the sustainability of our city. An endowment is not meant to be a short-term thing that you pull out. It's not a replacement for a city budget or anything like that. It's not meant to be a discretionary like slush fund or anything like that. It's not meant to be a one-time revenue source. And that's something that we really have to take in mind. And it's also not meant to be a grant program with no oversight. A lot of times we think of grant programs, but that is something that needs to have oversight on it. And so the purposes of an endowment really could take place to really enhance the city. It could go towards rehabilitation of residential areas. Think of low to moderate housing in our city. That is something an endowment could really pave the way to. Programs like health and safety in our area, we see things like economic development initiatives, all of that is where an endowment could come into place. I know that right now we're seeing a lot of development come up. An endowment fund where we put the community action fund in place there, that is, if we see that money grow up year after year after year, that is where it could really benefit right there. So the Clemson Community Action Fund would really be helpful here because we could see meeting the needs of the city of Clemson with nonprofit granting with oversight. And that's really important to take into consideration is, in this case, there would be oversight through the community foundation. And oversight would be very lean. It would be something like making sure they're a 501c3 and making sure it goes out to the city of Clemson through a charitable purpose. And then keeping things on track, like planning city enhancements, those sorts of things. There could be 2 paths for grant making, and that's laid out in your proposal. The 2 paths for grant making would be either City of Clemson driven, so that's where you guys would decide, do we want to decide the grant process? You guys saying grants would go here. Or do we want the community foundation to decide where the grants go? So those would be the 2 paths for grant making. Does that make sense? Are there questions here? The most important thing that I want to reiterate today is that it would be City of Clemson focused. So in the proposal, it says that the Community Foundation serves Pickens County, Oconee County, and Pendleton. You would need to bring your charitable purpose tightly in to the City of Clemson. Does that make sense? Make sure it aligns to the city of Clemson. Some examples of other municipalities that have done this are Community Foundation of Western North Carolina. So when Hurricane Helene hit, the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina was ready to respond. And most of their dollars for Hurricane Helene came straight through, and they were able to respond very quickly. Another one was the California Community Foundation, and they were also able to respond very quick. And then we have the Community Foundation of Greater Memphis. So this strengthens your philanthropic arm. It funds programs without tax increases, and this is the exciting one. It creates intergenerational funding for you guys. So after you're long gone, the people who come up behind you have a fund. The timeline for this, we would just assign a liaison between the foundation and city council. You would have a charitable purpose in place, something that says this money goes to the city of Clemson. We would personalize agreements in place and then review and sign agreements. And after that, the fund would be ready to go. At this point, any questions?
I got some questions. I think this is so exciting for the city. So do you anticipate that the funds for this endowment will be commingled with your other endowment? Or will you have a separate endowment within your endowment that dedicates these funds separately? Or how do you anticipate that will happen?
So how it happens is we have like our big umbrella endowment, and then there's an endowment structure right under that. So it's a separate fund altogether.
Separate fund within the endowment.
You would get the benefit of having a low fee under our endowment.
What would be our fee?
So the endowment fee on the foundation side is a foundation support fee of 1%, and then Lumblade Financial has a fee on their end.
So that's the same fee structure as the endowment for the foundation?
Yes.
Okay. A question, so on the spend policy, you talk about the endowment shall never spend more than 5% of the average market value. So two things to think about. That is a spend no more than. I think you to think very seriously about a spend no less than, so that you're always actively each year thinking about, because what happens sometimes, people end up holding, and so you usually have a max and usually a minimum. But one problem is that says it's your value of the endowment. And the other part of the spend policy, it says you're going to spend out the net income and net capital appreciation. That'd be a very different number. 5% of your net income for your endowment would be a lot less than, possibly, a lot less than 5% of your endowment. Either way is fine. I think you've got to clarify that. Or I could be misinterpreting this, but usually it's 5% of your income.
It's probably the wording. So it'll be in that 5%. Part of that's going to be interest, dividends, and capital gains. Part of that will be income off the investments. I'll check back on the wording of it. But it's not 5% of the income. It's 5% of the corpus is what they're referring to.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. See, this says you can distribute only the income and the capital appreciation. So that infers you can't do any of the corpus. So on the last page, protection of corpus. So because either way it's fine, just make sure you clarify that
Yeah,
language.
that's great.
Because, some people never let you use the corpus at all. I don't know if that's what you want to do or not.
Policy statement.
Yes, it's in here.
Okay. So one of the things that's really helpful, and it's a lot, it's financial people like me, it's like me, there's investment policies statement in there.
That's
Well, that's what we're,
that's
that's what we're
okay.
That's what we're
looking
Oh, it's
looking
not
at,
off of this?
yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're looking at the spend policy or sheet
Yeah.
under the investment policy statement. I understand that language.
We also have the agency
Because of-
endowment spending policy as well.
Okay.
We have both.
The spend policy versus the
5% of
protection of
the average
corpus.
market value over the previous year.
Yeah, you don't want to be more than that because you don't want to be less than. You don't want to be more than that because you're using money.
Spending down your corpus.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, the spend policy language, it does infers you can spend the corpus.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're saying to
Yeah.
make sure that
That's
and the
consistent
other,
with
that,
that.
okay, yeah. Just make sure,
We would definitely tweak those
Yeah.
to make sure they're consistent in
I
line.
don't know what page, yeah.
Yeah, on the last page, Clemson Community Action Fund, there's a draft that says protection of corpus and making distributions, net income, net capital appreciation are the only spendable items.
Right. That's not what they said in the spend policy. So it says 5% of your total value of your endowment.
Okay.
5% assuming not the net income, not beyond the net income or the capital appreciation. Right, they would work together, wouldn't they? One would limit the other. So you could do up to 5%, but then you're limited by those two
Yeah,
lines.
as long as you make that clear in here. It's not,
Is that
it's
right?
the
So
language is not
the
consistent.
existing endowment, how we have it, it's gonna be the percentage of the corpus, and so you'll see they'll do like the 4 quarters, 8 quarters, 12 quarters, and once you reach that 3-year mark, just an average. So, but to simplify that, whatever the account value is worth, it's 5% of that number to kind of give you an idea. The wording should be the capital gains, interest, and dividends, anything derived off the account will count towards that 5, will be embedded in there. And that's where we're getting the 5% from, right? It's the income off the investments.
Yeah, it's just, you got one thing saying in spend policy, and then under 2 pages later, under protection of corpus, it says you can only spend the net income, the net capital, and cannot invade the corpus except as permitted under law and approved by the foundation board. Yeah, so,
So in the draft, that's something that could be,
yeah.
Yeah, as
draft.
Just tweak that. That's great.
Chairwoman Windsor said, it needs to be consistent.
And I think we're very fortunate because you've got the foundation already set up. You've already got the endowment. You're already doing some grants making through one of the giving circles. So I think you've got a good structure. The thing I think we should think really about is before you open this, I think we haven't written out the mission. So that's on the city, right? Because I think the community's going to want to know, well, what can these dollars, otherwise it become like just an emergency fund. You know, like you might have a cycle, a granting cycle where you just do this once a year, but I think you probably need to think about structurally, this is amazing. We can do it structurally, but what is our priority for the dollars? And then the grant-making committee is judging every application vis-a-vis those priorities. Is it, improving people's houses? Is it building new houses? Is it, historical houses? I don't know. But I think we haven't really, that's the piece we need to have that's really transparent to the community. So if I'm going to apply for these dollars on behalf of
Right.
someone, I know what I'm going to be judged against.
Right.
So that's probably more on us than it is on y'all.
And that's what I talked about in the timeline piece of the charitable purpose.
Yes.
And that would be really key to have. What is the charitable purpose? If you want to define one, if you don't, that's fine too. It can be used for, projects and all of that. It can be used for enhancements around the city. But that, you're right, that is key to have.
Yeah.
It really is up to you guys to decide that, because it can be grant-making dollars, or it can be project dollars.
Because I think the important piece of it all is, that was one of the main reasons we decided we would want to ask for the developers to provide some funding that goes towards this fund to actually help with the projects as it relates to the renovations and helping with some of the repairs in the housing. And so I would hate to see that that should be a huge part of what that mission would be.
Absolutely.
That was one of the main reasons why we decided to do this in the first place. And so hopefully as we decide, we'll continue to keep that.
Consider the housing
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
That's why the term housing comes into play.
Absolutely. I would say no matter what, while it's sitting, let it grow.
Oh, sure.
Let it
Most
grow. until that charitable purpose really formulates. Because, I mean, Eric is doing a wonderful job. So that would, and while it's doing that, that charitable purpose can really come to fruition. But that charitable purpose is key, I believe.
So, maybe this is just the way I'm looking at it, but it seems to me like we would need to get the mission together, like you said, because we're either gonna do a 1-2-time donation into this, or we're gonna set a budget item and we're gonna push money into this annually. And if we're gonna do that, we gotta know what we're doing. We gotta have a reason. I don't know what that number needs to be, but is it just a one-time donation, or is this something that we're gonna try and look and put on the budget? In whatever amount that may be. I mean, if we're gonna be serious about supporting it.
It depends on what you decide you want to spend the money on. Because right now, off the top of my head, I can give you $50,000 that you're already spending on event sponsorships and things like that, and then people could apply through here. And then you're also, on top of that, gonna be getting, so far you've got 250,000 plus 524,000 from developers.
Coming.
Well, in a couple of years out. so-
Right.
Yeah, it's not tomorrow.
But
Yeah.
in the meantime,
It's not like it's sitting there right now. We gotta wait for
I
that
mean, I guess to
stuff.
your point, though, do we solve the mine essentially? Do we as a council or as a city make maybe that 50,000, or make a $50,000 donation into it initially to essentially set up our portion of that in anticipation then of the other monies that will come in, which are, I'm not certain how they're set up to come in, but they're coming in over the next few years.
And
when
perhaps,
occupancy permits are issued.
Right, so yes, it's gonna be at
It'll
the
come
end of
with
the
CO.
while. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be 3 years for one, and what's the other one? 2?
Probably, yeah,
2 or 3 years.
probably 2 years.
All right, so 2 years and 3 years.
yeah, because that all comes with CO, but it seems like this is also a way for us to become possibly arm's length from some of the charitable distribution, instead of people coming up and saying, hey, I'd like a little bit of money, I'd like a little bit of money. We push whatever that fund is through you guys for whatever portion we want to do with that. It doesn't mean we can't support other nonprofits, but perhaps it gives us a community way to appropriate that. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I kind of see it, I'll use the Shaw Center as an example, so say I got a $6,000 need, well, then I would need to write a $6,000 grant. And then it would come in that way and justify it through that grant process.
Rather than coming through council, go through the
It's- yeah,
foundation.
it'd be a grant request, and you do it on a job-by-job basis. I wouldn't go in every year and say, I want X. I justify it on a job-by-job basis. It's not like we got that many that were overwhelming,
Yeah,
so.
but that's what I took from what you were saying, is there's a couple ways of doing this. But perhaps this is a way to drive it towards them handling at least a portion of where that goes, which would get them a budget item.
Do we have to decide when we're doing our mission creation as a city, do we have to decide that we want to follow the city-initiated funding process or the foundation-initiated process, or can that change? Do we have to know which path we want to follow?
I would say you don't have to decide. For clarity's sake, I think it would be good to decide at some point, just so down the road, it's not a, kind of like a blaming thing, of like, oh,
That's
we
what I'm
didn't know
thinking.
you didn't want that, or anything like that. So I think it is healthy to choose at some point.
And would that be, I mean, that would
That
essentially
sounds
be.
bad.
No, not at all. It would essentially be policy, right? Like, we would be setting the policy of the foundation will verify the eligibility and take it on.
Right.
Versus the other. We would,
Right.
Right, and
Lay down guidelines and
Right.
guardrails, and then leave
I
it
think
to a
that would be
community
another
foundation to
thing.
decide.
that would be another thing
sometimes
to do with
people
the
like to say, we want, this money divvied out this way. If y'all don't want to do that, you know, and say these are the places that it goes, then that's fine.
Well, if we're getting the mission tight, then
Then we'll
either
know.
way, it should be fine. Yeah.
It doesn't matter either way to us. Yes, sir.
Question for Eric. How much would we have to have in the endowment just to be able to allocate $50,000 annually?
Let's draw off the $50,000 million.
Right.
So,
That
putting
5%.
50,000 in isn't gonna get you very, you know.
No,
No,
but
it ain't gonna get
it's
us
jump
pennies.
starting and just letting it sit, like you said, like, you gotta start with something. So while putting it in doesn't mean that we're gonna start $50,000 projects tomorrow,
But-
it's preparing us for accepting those
What we should do though
larger.
is we can look at, as we're going through the budget process, is if we can find a big chunk to put in there, and then in 2 years we'll get it paid back.
Right.
So
Plus the other-
you could
Well,
probably.
the
How many people are on the foundation board and involved in
15.
allocating? Is 15?
How do,
15 are on the board.
Yeah.
so how do they make a decision
We have 3 people.
with 15 people?
We have 3 people on finance and investment,
Okay,
and 3
okay.
people are part of our grants committee.
Okay.
So
it's six.
when y'all want to divvy out funds or anything, then basically it goes to our grants committee. And if you say, I want to, you know, give a grant to Shaw Center, then that's how it would go out.
But they'll know that it's city-centric. It cannot be outside. the city.
Absolutely. So what would happen is if y'all decided to grant out to a city 501c3, that request would come to me, and then I would say it meets, you know, that it's in the city of Clemson and it's a 501c3, here's the charitable purpose, and then they would say, thumbs up, send out the check. They have to respond within 48 hours to those.
I'd kind of prefer to
So
see
I-
it taken out of the council's purview and set guidelines and guardrails and kind of back up and let it function
Do a
through.
tight mission.
Let it do its
initially,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, let the citizens and the people on the board run exactly where it goes.
So that's where that foundation
That's the next
initiative
step, is to
process
get the
would be.
specific purpose or purposes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Andy.
I think we would have that discussion so we can decide.
Yeah, so that'd be next step, but we appreciate this. My last question real quickly is, I know you gave examples of other foundations and other municipalities and cities, but I assume y'all are not working with any other cities right now locally that y'all have had experience with? I'm looking at both of y'all. No, okay, I was just curious. You didn't use that as an example, I was just curious, so, okay.
I'm sorry, did you say, are we working with other cities? No, sir.
Okay. But I think you've helped our police department in the past.
Yes.
But that's our city.
That's our city. No, I know, that's our city, I'm saying,
And
but I was talking
Alan,
about
it might
other
be a-
cities,
It
correct?
might not be a good comparison, but I know the women group, they have their own grants. So their grants are limited to programs that benefit women and children. And so they have their own grants committee. So I think if you had a really super tight mission and vision, anybody could be the committee. That is but it's originally defined by, here's the parameters for this grant making out of this grant. So kind of you have the general foundations grants and you have the Women for Women ones. And there are different grant making processes and review committees. So that'll be another one probably.
I have a question for Eric, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, we already know that for us to be able to get out of the endowment $50,000 for a project, we would have to put in $1 million. So I need you to sell to me or tell me, persuade me to why would we put 50,000 in to begin with?
So why put 50,000?
You know what, why would we want to put a ante in or a seed money in there, 50,000, if we gotta let it grow to be $1 million, which will not happen in my lifetime?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, good question.
give me the pros and the cons of doing that, please.
Because you got to start somewhere. Right?
Okay,
So 2013,
okay, that's true.
You know, $100 each, you got to start somewhere. So that would be how I would look at it, right?
That's true, very true.
Initially get it going. You're correct. If you look, you know don't even calculate or do the math on that, it's not gonna kick out a lot to make a big difference 12 months. But you gotta get started. And then hopefully that kind of get the ball rolling for new money coming in, right? And then once you kind of define and come up with a purpose, what would add the most value to our community, then I think that rest of it would go from there.
Okay, that's why.
That
I wanna hear.
also, I'm just stuck on that mission. I think that's our next steps. Because it'll help guide decision-making.
Oh, yeah.
Conversations that we're having down the line. I mean, next councils past us. That's gonna be,
But one other thing you gotta remember, the money we got coming from those two projects is go a long way towards getting you to that $1 million.
like 3/4 of the
It's
way.
gonna be 3/4 of it right
Correct, but we don't have that right
there. I
now.
know, we
So-
got 3, yeah.
Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say, one of the things that you guys are not aware of yet, because I haven't presented it to you guys, but I have to Planning Commission, is that, you know, it will be in your lifetime, I think. One of the ways we're talking about.
Yours might get shorter,
I know.
yours is getting shorter.
But using the example of the MODA that's being built right now, one of the things that we're talking about as a staff and planning commission to get you out of this negotiating piece with developers is we'll set the height, say, using MODA at 3 stories. And if they wanted to go to 5 like they are, they would pay us $10 a square foot to get there. But that $10 a square foot would go into this fund. And in that scenario, that would be $1.25 million. So that's one project. So we see that being, our constant struggle downtown. Currently, the reason we're in PDs is height. So if we set that rate and be like, we can get with the community and say this is an acceptable height, but to get there, we're setting it artificially low and you have to pay into the fund to get there. That gets you out of park donations and, random donations and things like that. Gets you out of the negotiation piece. So it's set in ordinance that they actually pay that. And we stole this idea from Greenville. Their rate is $5 a square foot. We think we can get 10.
Okay, so that's a possibility.
Possibility, but
Yes.
I'm saying that the idea of it could turn into real money really quickly. Yeah,
But
but that's not passed yet, so
Yeah.
it's just an idea.
Eric answered my question.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Eric.
So next steps is to set that specific purpose, but then decide down the road if the foundation's managing these funds. So that's right. Keep it simple. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate y'all's
No, you do.
patience as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
y'all
for,
both.
thank you
Appreciate
very
being
much.
here. All right, so it is 6:10 right now. We'll reconvene at 6:15 for our regular council members, so we'll take a break for 5 minutes. Does that work for everyone? Yes. Good.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
St.
All right.
Ferguson instead of Davis.
talk to them soon when they graduate.
All right. All right. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to our city council meeting, just slightly early. Like we talked about it, we were going to start a little bit earlier if our work session ended a little bit early, which it did. So we call this meeting to order this February 16th, 2026. I will remind, I'm trying to do this right at the beginning, that if you, during public session or anytime, please sign in, approach the podium. But also, more importantly, there's also, well, not more importantly, but there's ADA devices, and I point, and I probably shouldn't point, but Jeremiah has them. He's putting his hands up, so there's ADA listening devices are available if you need them. So I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We'll start off with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Cheryl.
As a nation, we've set aside this day to honor the presidents who served our country. As today is President's Day, our invocation is adapted from George Washington's letter to the states, written in 1783. So I invite you to join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge your blessings on our community and our country. We make our earnest prayer that you will keep our community and country in your protection, that you will incline the hearts of citizens to cultivate a spirit of unity and to entertain a brotherly affection and love for one another and for our fellow citizens, that you will guide us all to do justice, to love mercy, and to act with charity, humility, and temper of mind, which are characteristics you, our divine author, has set before us as an example. We ask you through all these things through Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I heard that.
Sorry.
All right, we have the honor next to do proclamations for Black History Month. Honorees, we'll start out with Ray Lawson, right up in the front row. You can sit, it's all good. I get to read. This is great. So, Ray, all right. This is a proclamation, recognition of service for Ray Lawson. Whereas Ray Lawson was born in Georgia and raised in the rural town of Sylvester and one of 11 children, I want to say that 11 children in a hardworking family of sharecroppers. Whereas Ray and his twin brother Lawrence broke new ground for their family as first-generation college students, attending Central Wesleyan, of course now we know it as Southern Wesleyan University, on full academic and athletic scholarships. Whereas Ray was a standout on the collegiate court, earning a degree in physical education and the distinction of honorable mention All-America before his talent took him across to the Atlantic to play professionally in the European League and even appear as an actor in several basketball films. I did not know that. Impressive. Whereas his athletic legacy was permanently cemented in 2005 with his induction into the Southern Wesleyan University Hall of Fame. Whereas his true calling remained at home, mentoring the next generation, serving as a coach, trainer, and official for local sports from youth recreation to professional level games, and spending 16 years in education as an at-risk counselor, physical education teacher, graduation coach, and virtual course facilitator. Whereas now retired, Ray's commitment to the area remains strong in his volunteer efforts at the Littlejohn Community Center and Alive Wesleyan Church, and quietly helping elderly neighbors with yard work throughout. Whereas above all, Ray is a proud family man. His children are Daniel High School graduates who are followed in the family's footsteps of excellence. Where Desiree pursuing veterinary medicine, Galen studying engineering at Clemson University, while his nephew Shaq and Shaheem Lawson have both represented the Tigers on the football field. Now, therefore, I, Robert Halfaker, Mayor of the City of Clemson, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize Ray Lawson for his lifetime of leadership, education, and heart that truly embodies the spirit of a true community servant. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and have caused the Great Seal of the City to be affixed the 16th day of February 2026. Congratulations. If you'd like, we'd like to take a picture with you if that's okay. And then you can come on up. Yes, sir. We'll come down, actually. There you go. John, down here on the chair.
Congratulations.
Nice job. That's yours. Yes, sir.
A gentleman I have to look up at.
Look, I'm trying to get as tall as you can. I do like this.
I love it. I feel tiny. Would you like one with fame?
Family photo?
Family? What?
I'm gonna get out of the way.
Yeah. We'll get out of the way. Come on up. Family.
Yes, I will, yeah. Come on, son.
Touching around.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Anything you like to say?
I'll say a couple of things right quick. Thank you. Just a quick word to say thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored and shocked and surprised, and I just feel like I try to do a lot for the community, getting involved with the kids and be a positive role model, and just give them some good advice, things of that nature. Okay, just definitely honored and thankful and grateful. It's a blessing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We are so fortunate we have three other honorees today. Next one is Bryant Smith. He's hiding. He's hiding. There he is. There he is. Again, this is a proclamation of recognition of service for Bryant K. Smith. Whereas a seasoned higher education administrator, classroom instructor, and championship-winning basketball coach, Bryant Smith has witnessed the power of diversity in the boardroom, the classroom, and the court of competition. Whereas he is one of the founding members of the Palmetto Team Youth Association and the PT Cruisers, AAU, and the basketball teams, which won several tournaments and qualified for both the AAU and the YBOA national championships. Whereas a basketball coach, Brian has worked with young athletes to develop, you'll notice a common theme with all of these nominees, I love it, to develop and enhance not only their athletic skills, but also their personal development so they could become productive members of their community. Whereas Brian has served as a mentor, presented to local middle and high schools, recited inspiring poetic messages to his audience, helping transfer the lives of young men in the Clemson area and empowering them to achieve their goals. Whereas he's a former board member of the Community Foundation of Greater Clemson, served on the Juneteenth Celebration Committee, is a current member of the Kappa Gamma Gamma chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity that serves areas in Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens County, which is involved working mostly with Little John Community Center. Now, therefore, I, Robert Halfaker, Mayor of the City of Clemson, on behalf of Clemson City Council, do recognize Bryant Smith for his impact on the community through his work with the youth and leadership development. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and have caused the great seal of the city to be affixed this 16th day of February 2026. Congratulations again. I love it. I love it.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. All right.
There's the official. Sweet.
You stay there.
Yeah, you stay.
All right. Family members?
Family.
Yes. You have someone to take it?
Who's taking a picture?
Roberts wears many hats. Mayor.
We'll do it both ways. We're just, make sure equal opportunity.
That's my grandbaby in the front. That's my grandbaby. DK,
I know, where is it?
where did he go? Oh, he's right here.
Oh, there it is. Okay. DK, I was looking for you. I found you. I found you. All right, so we have two more people we'd like to recognize, and one could not be here for family obligation, always family first, so. But I'm gonna read this, and DK, thank you for being here, but I'm gonna just read it for both, so that way you'll know it's a proclamation recognition of service for DK, Keesler Bruce, and Jaquel Durham. Whereas in 2025, DK and Jaquel opened the Sincerely Daniel exposition at the Clemson Area African Museum, the first exhibit of its kind to honor 50 years of Black athletic excellence at D.W. Daniel High School and elevate the city of Clemson's vibrant sports culture and community impact. Whereas their exhibit brought together over 80 community members who contributed their items, research, design expertise, and volunteer hours. Whereas their hard work and dedication resulted in a highly received exhibit and programming with a successful cheer camp, a suicide awareness walk and talk, tours for Pickens County district principals, and the Black Rhinos mentoring program, Teacher in Service Day, the Central Clemson Recreation League's 20th and 25th anniversary championship celebration dinner, the honoring of champions and legends at the Daniel boys varsity basketball game, and the Clemson University Sincerely Daniel undergraduate course and Black Graduate Student Alumni Association Super Bowl party. Whereas their partnership with the Clemson University Libraries will digitize the exhibit and all the items for online collection to increase the accessibility of Clemson's history to an international audience. And whereas special accommodation is due to DK and Jaquel for their resulting achievements. Whereas the city of Clemson salutes DK and Jaquel and their attention brought to the community through their dedication to its history and culture. Now therefore, I, Robert Hatfiger, Mayor of the City of Clemson, on behalf of Clemson City Council, do hereby congratulate DK and Jaquel for their outstanding dedication and accomplishment, and witness whereof I hereon to set my hand and have caused the great seal of the city to be affixed this 16th day of February 2026. Congratulations again, DK. You're on your own tonight.
I know, it's unusual.
No, I like it. You know, I know you'll represent well.
Congratulations, DK.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
So I just want to thank everybody for giving me and Jaquel the opportunity to represent the community. We wanted to give honor to the people that raised this and live beside us. So thank y'all, Lindsay, Andy, and you, Allison. Thank y'all so much for y'all help and assistance throughout this whole process, and you as well, Mr. Robert. So thank y'all.
family members, friends, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of our city council meeting. But we understand you have families that you need to get home to, dinner, other types of things. So you're more than happy to leave at any time. It is all good. We just appreciate you being here. Thank you very much to recognize these 4 great individuals. So thank you.
Playoffs.
Nice turnout.
Great turnout.
Great turnout. Now it's weighted. All right, so we'll continue. It is kind of weighted over here now. All right, so next we'll go into public session. We'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just a reminder that public session is open for topics that are not on the agenda. If you do have a topic that you want to address that's on the agenda, we like to give you time when we get to that point, just so it's top of mind and we're talking about the same thing all at once. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, must be directed to City Council as a body, and limited to issues within our direct jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to be mindful of repeating points that have already been addressed and to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Please do not speak on behalf of others, donate, transfer, or yield time. And I also like to remind decorum, respect. We are here to listen only. We are not here to debate. We're just here to hear from citizens. So first, we will go down the list of the signups. First, we have Miss Stephanie Platt.
Stephanie Platt, Mount View Lane. My first question is, that left-hand turn signal off of 133, that really needs to be fixed. Because I've had to sat through 3 lights getting over here today. I mean, I thought it was supposed to be fixed, like months ago, but evidently it's not. So that's one of my concerns. The second one is brush pickup. There's some brush that we put on Pickens Street that hasn't been picked up. I mean, it's been sitting there since like Christmas. So would like somebody to pick it up if possible. And thirdly, I'd like to see if council would consider bringing Conversations with Council back, because I really think that was a very good listening platform for everybody. And I think it, went really well, and I'm just not understanding why it was canceled. Thank you.
Ms. Platt. Next, we have Ms. Eitenmiller.
After having attended 2.5 hours of the budget retreat at the Madron Center and not hearing one word about budgeting and anything of that nature, what I heard was where it's y'all's responsibility to worry about the safety and the health of the citizens. And, in my opinion, as I will be a homeowner in Clemson sometime in the near future, as my father passed away recently, you refuse to listen to what the citizens of the city of Clemson say that they want. Like, they don't want these high-rise apartments, they don't want this, they don't want that, they don't want the other. Like, did y'all discuss any of this, or was the whole entire meeting about how you feel that it's your responsibility to take care of the citizens of the city of Clemson? And I spend a lot of time with my mother these days since my father passed away. And, I'm just curious as to why y'all think that your responsibility is to take care of us when we already know what we want and we voice what we want. The citizens of the city of Clemson as well voice what they want, and we say we don't want all this building in downtown Clemson, we don't want all this traffic in downtown Clemson. Like, my suggestion to y'all would be to enter into an agreement with the new, whoever the president of Clemson University is, to say the city of Clemson cannot function with this many students taking over our roadways and blah, 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 blah. And another thing that causes me concern is y'all say we want to attract people to the city of Clemson. We want to attract people to the city of Clemson to go to a restaurant or a this or a that or the other. When I'm out, I'm in other places all the time, and people are like, nobody goes to Clemson except to go to a sporting event. And that's basically what Clemson is. Football, baseball, basketball. People don't come here to say, oh, let me go to this awesome restaurant that's at the Hub. It doesn't draw people here. People that live in Greenville are going to stay in Greenville because there's plenty of great restaurants in Greenville. Thank you.
We don't have any additional signups, so now the floor is open for anybody who would like to speak.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave it open for just another moment. And just for you guys and for the public, we did not have any comments submitted via the MyCivic app, so nothing for us to read. Okay, one last call for anybody who'd like to speak. Okay, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate that. Next is the possible approval of minutes from February 2nd, 2026. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll go on to reports and discussion. Just a reminder, there's a 2-minute limit per speaker. And so first, we have on here to recognize outgoing board and commission members for their service. I need the list. No. I mean, I knew we went over it.
I was gonna pull it up.
And just so you know, for everybody, these individuals have definitely, like a lot of people, well, everybody that steps up to volunteer on our different committees, boards and commissions and things like that, we're just very grateful for their service and their commitment to making Clemson a better place. So these are the ones that we'd like to recognize tonight for, again, their outgoing service. So Board of Architectural Review, David Allison and Christine Tedesco. Board of Zoning Appeals, Bob Healy. Economic Development Advisory Committee, Jason Beatty, Neil Burton, John Duckworth, Cameron Ferris, Byron Leggett, John Shaughnessy, yeah, I got it. Shaughnessy, that's what I thought. Rick Ware, I always want to make sure. Doug Zerbel, Parks Rec, Arts Commission and Tourism Committee, Fran McGuire, Kyle McLean, Mindy Spearman, and Sustainability Committee, Nanda Andrew Evans, Nancy Spittler, and Nanda Edgerton. I can hardly say it tonight, I'm having troubles tonight. But with that said, these individuals, please, next time you see them, if you know them, thank them for their service and their commitment to our city. We greatly appreciate that. And so we've decided to kind of change it up. We used to recognize it individually and come in, but we will definitely, you know, we're still doing our service with a gift card.
Yes, they've been sent gift cards.
And so,
Local gift cards.
so local gift cards to local businesses. So just, you know, again, we greatly appreciate their commitment to our city. Next is to just, Hold on. Next is to discuss the ordinance confirming and ratifying the annexation of or annexing certain property contiguous to the city limits and enlarging the city limits for providing other related matters. Andy?
This is, when you annexed the Grange a couple of years ago. The county GIS department said that they weren't clear on the boundaries of the property, despite all the documentation we sent, despite what was in the ordinance and all this stuff. So what we've done since then is we've treated every one of them as city residents. You are not receiving money. This isn't the whole property. This is only a couple of streets, which is kind of weird. But, you know, despite the fact that counties don't even have standing to interfere in annexation, it's pretty frustrating. But in the meantime, I think it's frustrating for the residents as well. We now have annexation petitions from 100% of the homeowners there. That means you can ratify that by saying that, I mean, that should clear up any confusion they have at the county level, because getting that petition is a requirement of getting utility service. So we're gonna have up for our first reading at the next meeting, the ratifying ordinance that just basically reaffirms what you had already done with the petitions. And we have every one of them on the website now, attached to the agenda. And that's why the agenda document, if you scrolled, it took forever.
Yeah.
Because we had all of those on there.
How many houses are we talking
It's
about?
199.
There want to be, that you got 100%.
Yeah, but it's only like 2 streets.
Right, well, you said it's just a few
But
streets.
we have one
that's-
for everybody anyway, because it's a condition of utilities.
Remind me, is this some of the houses that have central addresses, but they are in Clemson?
Good point. They do have central addresses, and we've been asked by residents in the Grange and the new Longleaf community that they would like to have those changed to Clemson addresses. So what we're doing is our planner is going to reach out to our district postal manager in Columbia and request a zip code boundary survey. So the first part of that process is they'll be sent a survey from the post office. And it'll ask, do you want to have your address changed? And I don't know what else it asks, but I know it says that. And the post office then has 60 days to respond. And then everyone would have to change their address, their driver's license and all their bills and all that kind of thing. But there was some confusion over voting particularly.
That's what I was gonna say, about the voting.
I know the people in Delwood, because they're in Anderson County, it's kind of challenging for them to vote. I had some residents in the Longleaf area, because it says Central, show up to Central to vote, and they were told they couldn't, so they didn't even think they could have representation, but, you know, they don't get to vote until November of this year because we have even year elections. So that was really confusing for them.
That can be very frustrating, yeah.
But will they be able to show up on the rolls as
I
voters?
verified with Dr. Sams that yes, they are registered Clemson electors.
Good, good. Cool. So this is basically us reiterating the boundaries and putting the petition for utilities in play.
Yes.
Other questions, comments? Thank you. Anything in public, obviously, please step up. Yeah, Jeremiah, come. Next, you coming?
We're good.
Okay, you good? All right. Next, we're gonna turn it over to Nathan Wood's gonna talk about the development strategy discussion here.
Maybe this stuff's in your way.
All right, Nathan, the floor is yours.
All right. Tonight, I want to ask for a return to the foundations that ground us. As we stand on the precipice of adopting a new comprehensive plan, we have to be honest about why the previous ones haven't fully realized their potential. I believe we serve this city best when we focus on the big picture of managed growth rather than getting lost in the minutia of individual proposals and parcels. But to do that effectively, we have to address a growing gap. While our strategic goals have remained remarkably consistent for over 55 years, our zoning code and the often reactive changes we have made to it has become a barrier to those goals. Whether through conflicting amendments or simple failure to enact the actions recommended in past plans, our rule book no longer matches our roadmap. I am asking this council to move beyond a project-by-project lens and refocus on the roadmap to which we've already committed. We don't need to invent new criteria. We need to modernize our zoning to finally match our vision. To understand why this update is so urgent, we have to honor the ground we're standing on. Over the next half hour and change, I want to share the story of commitments we've made to each other over the last 50 years. Because the best way to ensure the new plan succeeds is to understand exactly how we navigated the path that brought us here. I've packed these slides with data and quotes. I'm going to do a lot of reading, but I promise you don't need to squint at the screen or try to read every line tonight. I'm here to walk you through the story behind the data, and a question you may have may be answered on the very next slide, so if you'll give me some grace here. So feel free to just lean back and listen, and I'll make sure we hit all the highlights together. As we prepare to codify the new division, we have to be honest about the three hurdles that make our current work feel so difficult. These aren't just obstacles to a project, they are obstacles to our progress as a city. First, we have the friction of public discourse. Second, a natural hesitancy towards change. And third, a significant knowledge gap regarding the very plans the city has already adopted. We find ourselves in this friction because our current zoning, which is the actual law, is out of alignment with our strategic goals. We have strayed from our roadmap. To get back on track, we must stop evaluating developments based on static, emotional metrics like bed counts and start measuring by their alignment with Clemson's long-term vision. Sorry. I know many in this room are frustrated. You are frustrated with the constant stream of ad hoc development proposals arriving in front of this very body. You are frustrated with the planned development cycle that feels reactive rather than intentional, and you should be frustrated. But we have to recognize that this frustration is a symptom of a rule book that no longer supports a roadmap. Correcting our course requires more than just adopting a new plan. It requires a wholesale rewrite of our zoning code to finally match our strategic reality. It's going to be a long and difficult ride. It will require us to tackle strategic overlays, debate building heights, and make the hard choices that have been deferred for years. But before we can decide where that code needs to go, we must ground ourselves in history of the ground that it was built on before. Before we discuss a path forward, let's take this evening to understand the commitments we've already made. First, a timeline. Between 1971 and 2026, we have formally returned to the drawing board to create and update our city's plans at least 11 different times. While there are smaller studies and corridor reports that I simply can't cover tonight, we're going to hit every major comprehensive plan rewrite and update. The sheer volume of these documents proves one thing. We aren't a city that lacks vision. We are a city that has spent 55 years obsessively refining the same vision, and tonight, we're going to look at the common thread that ties every one of those 11 efforts together. A friend recently gave me a rare copy of the 1971 Land Development Plan, and it has become one of my most prized professional possessions. The original 6-panel brochure summarized what later took comprehensive plans 475 pages to cover in exhaustive detail. 1971 was a turning point in Clemson. It was the year zoning was first introduced. At that time, under Mayor John W. Lagrone, our population was just 5,561. But even then, our leaders had the foresight to create a roadmap. They weren't just looking at the town they had, they were planning on the city that we would become. To understand how far we've strayed from that original roadmap, we have to look at what was originally intended. The plan said the following regarding high-density development. And this is one of the few slides I'll read. High-density areas were proposed in several parts of the city in order to give residents a choice of locations conveniently related to the university as well as being served by major transportation routes. These are the areas east and west of the College Avenue commercial area and in the triangle formed by highways 123, 93, and 76, an area which is in transition from single-family to high-density residential and commercial development. When we look at the 1971 vision for commercial development, our leaders did not see a single congested corridor. They expected Clemson to have several distinct commercial areas, a model designed to serve a growing community without losing its small-town character. Even in 1971, our leaders saw the writing on the wall. Because of where our neighborhoods sit in relation to the university, they explicitly stated that College Avenue was not expected to expand into the city's primary business district. They recognized then, what we often forget now, that our original downtown has physical limits that we must respect. Our leaders envisioned a two-tiered commercial strategy. College Avenue was intended for student-oriented businesses like clothing stores and restaurants. Meanwhile, the general commercial needs of the rest of Clemson's population were to be met by shopping centers along highways 93 and 76. This was a balanced, intentional divide designed to serve every segment of our population. By ignoring this roadmap, we have spent years trying to force a community-focused identity onto a corridor that was specifically intended to serve students. We are still trying to make College Avenue be everything to everyone, and in doing so, we've created a conflict that the original plan was designed to avoid. Let's jump ahead 12 years to 1983. By this time, under Mayor Hubert J. Webb, Clemson's population had grown to 8,100 people. We were no longer a small town of 5,000. We were a city in transition. And the pressure on our original 1971 foundations was beginning to build. By 1983, our leaders saw the clear advantages of density, but with one major caveat. They believed that well-planned and strategically located higher density developments were a vital ingredient for creating interesting, attractive, and functional neighborhoods. They weren't looking at density through the narrow lens of bed counts. They were looking at how strategic density could provide vibrancy and functionality. This is the where of the 1983 vision. Our predecessors didn't just say more density, they pinpointed logical locations for it. They saw growth belonging near shopping centers, community hubs, and areas already influenced by the university. They understood that density only works when it's anchored to existing infrastructure and service nodes rather than being scattered across town at random. In this plan, our leaders looked at a specific 5-acre area near the intersection of Strode Circle and College Avenue. They didn't envision this space as a park or as empty space. They saw a complex puzzle. They were aware of the existing residential buildings on the site and noted that one parcel sat almost entirely in a floodplain. Our predecessors understood that certain locations would have to bear the weight of Clemson's growth to protect the rest of the city. They identified these parcels as an important location for mixed-use residential and commercial elements, going so far as to suggest loft apartments. They stated that adequate landscaping buffers would allow the development here to act as a transition between College Avenue commercialism and the well-established single-family neighborhood along Riggs Drive. The building that this council approved in 2025 is the modern evolution of that idea. It places density where it was always intended to go, utilizing design to act as a definitive edge between commercial corridors and residential neighborhoods. Here is a map they included of those parcels. Leaders recognized that preserving a neighborhood's interior scale was entirely compatible with allowing high-density development at its gateways. See also the Clemson House and the former townhomes along Foy Creek. But Nathan, leaders never imagined this portion of College Avenue accommodating 7 stories. In 1983, they called for 4 stories and a more village-like traditional garden apartment design. This is true. Just like leaders at the time could not fathom the internet, cell phones, a city population of 19,000, university enrollment pushing 30,000, or 2 additional football national championships, their framework was limited. Yet, their strategy for density and transitions remained the same. To conclude the 1980s, let's look at 1989. Our population has reached 11,000, and Mayor Abernathy is now at the helm. The decisions made during this period were about more than just buildings. They were about cementing the strategic goals that we are still fighting to protect today. It was a recognition that 11,000 people requires a much more sophisticated plan than 5,000. In 1989, our leaders identified a simple truth that remains our reality today. Multifamily demand in Clemson is a direct function of the university's growth beyond its dormitory capacity. They weren't guessing, they were looking at data. We have to be realistic. Clemson University will grow regardless of its on-campus bed count. This isn't an external market reality that the city, this is an external market reality that the city doesn't create, but it is one that we are forced to navigate. For nearly 40 years, dating back to the 1980 plan, the city has recognized that university enrollment surges create intense external pressures on our housing supply. It is not a burden this council asked for, nor is it our responsibility to solve the university's housing shortages. However, it is our responsibility to decide exactly where we want that pressure to land. Our role is not to accommodate the university. It is to manage the impact of its growth on our city. We do that by ensuring this inevitable demand is contained within our high-density corridors, acting as a strategic safety valve that prevents that pressure from spilling over into our quiet, single-family neighborhoods. We aren't building for the university. We are building a defensive perimeter for the residents of Clemson. Consider the scale. Our predecessors projected a 220% increase in multi-household acreage. They weren't doing the university's job, they were preparing a strategic defense. They knew that if the city didn't create intentional, high-density spaces to capture that overflow, the market would eventually seek out and dismantle the character of our single-family neighborhoods to find it. Even in 1989, they recognized that our existing zoning categories might eventually need to evolve to allow for more residential development options by calling for some RM1, which are today's R20, properties to be rezoned to accommodate that growth. However, they expected that evaluation to happen within the logical locations we discussed earlier, not spread haphazardly across the city's footprint. Now we jump to 94. The population is still hovering around 11,000, and Mayor Abernathy is still at the helm. This was a unique moment in our history. The rapid population surge of the 80s had leveled off, giving our leaders a chance to breathe and ask, are the foundations we built in 71 and 83 actually holding up? Our leaders identified a critical disconnect. University enrollment was going up, but on-campus housing was not. This created a vacuum that the region was forced to fill. The 1994 plan does not mince words. It says that the city is accommodating the lion's share of the university's housing needs. We are more than a college town. We are the university's most critical partner. Since 1994, the city has intentionally positioned itself to leverage a portion of the university's population, fueling the growth of our local economy in the process. If we feel today like we're struggling with bed counts, it's because we've been playing a game of catch-up since at least 1994. Our predecessors saw it coming, and they wrote about it in their plan. They knew that if the university didn't build others throughout the city, and they knew that if they didn't have a strong strategic filter through that growth, we would lose our balance. 30 years later, enrollment is higher, but the lion's share is still landing on our doorstep. It is time we stop accommodating this growth through ad hoc development proposals and start directing this growth to where it makes sense. The 1994 plan directs intensive development exclusively to our major arterial intersections where the traffic capacity already exists to support it. By anchoring our activity center in these high-capacity nodes, we aren't just building density, we are protecting the integrity of our quiet, adjacent neighborhoods. This strategy creates a win-win. We capture the economic benefits of growth along with our transit corridors while using these same locations to provide safe, multimodal links for our residents to walk or bike to work and services without ever needing to clog a residential side street. The 1994 plan gave us a roadmap for the downtown streetscape. While it allowed for the remaining temporary office use for the remaining former residences along College Avenue, it was always with the intent that later development would bring buildings to the street front. We are now in that later phase. In 1998, it's 1988, and the population is now 11,500. Larry Abernathy is still the mayor. Under his guidance, the city embarked on a plan for redevelopment to answer the question, how should the city of Clemson respond to the forces shaping its future? The plan stated, the most obvious place to begin increasing intensity of development is College Avenue, and that the extension of the compact downtown development pattern along College Avenue has the potential to make it the commercial, cultural, and social heart of Clemson. Under the heading, the importance of maintaining Clemson's village character, leaders noted an opportunity by stating, city plans call for an intensity of development along College Avenue, Kiwi Trail, and Highway 123, including mixed use and residential development, particularly on College Avenue and Kiwi Trail will allow more students and residents to be within walking or biking distance of shopping, the university, and nightlife. As we enter the aughts, the city's population stood at 11,939. Under the steady leadership of Mayor Abernathy, who remained at the helm, we began to see the early seeds of growth we are experiencing today. The standing policy was to prioritize commercial growth along College Avenue with the understanding that the existing single-family footprint still there would eventually give way to more intensive development. Fast forward 4 years, the population has climbed to 12,399. Throughout this period of steady expansion, Mayor Abernathy remained the consistent face of city leadership. Leaders felt that the city's housing market provided a much-needed outlet for students, and that we should promote higher density mixed-use developments in established corridors. They felt that so strongly that another strategy suggested revising the zoning ordinance to remove regulations that would discourage or prevent the location of higher density mixed-use development in established commercial corridors. Entering the 2010s, our community reached a pivotal milestone. In 2014, our population had grown to almost 15,000 residents. A testament to our area's continued appeal. This era of growth also brought a change in leadership as we welcomed Mayor J.C. Cook to guide the city through his next chapter. By 2014, the city recognized that we were at a crossroads with our aging multifamily housing stock. Officials correctly identified that as students increasingly prioritize modern amenities, our older, tired apartment complexes were struggling to compete. This shift created a deliberate, strategic opportunity, an anticipated wave of growth. The plan was clear. Sites in proximity to campus would inevitably stay in the student market, while those further out provided a chance to diversify our housing for other populations. Rather than being surprised at this transition, the 2014 plan actually expected a rise in the mixed-use structure along College Avenue, knowing that downtown proximity would always be the deciding factor for student-oriented housing. The comp plan here's housing element expected construction to follow trends set over the last decade. Mixed-use housing projects anchoring commercial corridors, and the bulk of new residential growth pushing east. In 2014, the city identified two major pressures on the housing stock. First, traditional neighborhoods were changing as smaller homes were demolished for larger builds and converted into student rentals, a trend that continues to directly impact neighborhood character today. Second, a large inventory of aging multifamily housing that the plan targets for redevelopment and acknowledge their current role as de facto affordable housing. Leaders were realistic about the friction here. Many of the sites share borders with single-family neighborhoods. The plan lists upgrading these areas as a priority and accepts that the process will have a direct and unavoidable impact on the neighbors. The land use plan of 2014, the land use element of the 2014 plan is where things begin to get spicy. City leaders acknowledged a fundamental shift. Growth would no longer be about sprawling outward, but about infill and redevelopment. This means new projects will be built right up against our existing single-family neighborhoods. To handle this, the plan calls for the adoption of smart growth principles. We are talking about encouraging vertical development, reducing parking minimums to reduce runoff, and prioritizing walkability. It's important to be direct about what this looks like in practice. These very policies mandate higher density and a much larger scale of construction for our downtown and our main corridors. This is the blueprint for how the city planned to utilize land that is already connected to our service and utility grids. By 2004, both the 2014 and 2019 plans call for smart growth. They weren't just using a buzzword, they were adopting planning best practices that have been vetted by the American Planning Association and urban researchers for decades. The industry standard for a sustainable city is strategic proximity. This means that instead of spreading our infrastructure through sprawl, spreading our infrastructure thin through sprawl, we concentrate our most intense uses where they can be supported by existing transit and utilities. By following these best practices, we aren't just building more, we are building efficiently, ensuring that our growth pays for itself rather than becoming a long-term tax liability. Still in 2014, the data was clear. We had over 13,000 students without on-campus beds. Instead of pushing against that reality, leaders chose to embrace the demand as an opportunity to shape the town's footprint. The logic was simple. If we don't provide vertical density in the downtown and along our main corridors, that pressure will eventually push intense uses to the edges of the city and beyond. By leaning into smart growth, specifically walkable, bikeable, transit-friendly developments, we are keeping the city compact. They were intentionally choosing vertical growth in the core over sprawl at the perimeter. In 2014, we were already discussing the need to diversify our retail options, but the path identified wasn't just about recruiting stores, it was about building the environment where they could thrive. We focused on mixed-use development and infill along our corridors because leaders recognized a fundamental rule of real estate. Retail follows heads and beds. You cannot have a diverse, healthy retail sector without the residential density to support it. By putting more people in the downtown core, we provide the customer base that allows new and varied businesses to keep their doors open. Not to mention the increase it provides our long-established downtown merchants. It's 2019, and it's time for another comprehensive plan update, and the city's growth trajectory is undeniable. The population had climbed to 17,510, which is an increase of 2,500 residents in just 5 years. With Mayor J.C. Cook continuing his tenure, the period was marked by a steady commitment to the long-term vision established earlier in the decade. The 2019 Comprehensive Plan Update is a fascinating document because its housing and land use elements were shaped by some of our community's most vocal opponents against development. But it's important to recognize that the same was true for the 2014 plan. Still, the plan explicitly preserved and went as far as to reaffirm the 2014 mandate for compact, vertical, and high-density construction in our downtown and along main corridors. This suggests that at a high level, we reached a rare and sophisticated consensus that smart growth was the only viable path forward for Clemson's future. The challenge we're seeing today isn't that the plans were misunderstood. It's that the vision that we all agreed was necessary on paper is now becoming a physical reality. It seems we've reached a point of collective cognitive dissonance where the very strategy we codified as smart planning 7 years ago is now being reimagined as a grievance, simply because it has finally moved out of the document and into our view shed. And it looks exactly like we said it would. The 2019 update was not just about growth. It was about protection. It implies that by adopting the rental housing ordinance in the early 2000s, we created a firewall around our single-family neighborhoods. The agreement was clear. We will protect the heart of our residential areas by concentrating density along our main corridors. This document also opened the door for innovative public-private partnerships, turning projects like the 398 400 College Avenue project into tools for solving community-wide parking and infrastructure challenges. If the critique is that we aren't listening to residents, it's important to note that we are strictly adhering to strategic plans built on years of public input. If our current adherence to these plans is viewed as not listening, then that same critique would have to apply to every mayor, council, planning chair, planning commission, and resident task force that has contributed to our city planning efforts and framework over the last several decades. Historically, we found ourselves in a recurring cycle. We adopt a long-range plan that champions high density, only to then react to the arrival of that density with restrictive downzoning. This creates a disconnect where our zoning map is constantly at war with our comprehensive plan, leading us to write new plans that simply repeat the same goals we just finished restricting. Entering 2020, the city's population stood at 17,750. With Mayor J.C. Cook still at the helm, the city's focus remained fixed on the 2019 mandate, embracing density in the core to protect the single-family neighborhoods on the periphery. We launched Clemson Next in 2020 to take a hard look at our development trajectory. We didn't just ask if we should grow, but why growth is happening and what we want the future to look like. This process centered on 3 things. Who can afford to be here? Can our economy adapt? And does our architecture support a high quality of life? There have been attempts to reinterpret or move the goalpost of what Clemson Next actually says. In its own words, the study is very clear. Shutting down development is not a realistic solution. We often hear about traffic and housing as our primary problems, but the experts behind Clemson Next diagnose these as symptoms. The actual problem is we lack density where people want to be, forcing more cars onto the road and putting more pressure onto our neighborhoods. To solve these issues, we have to follow the plan's advice. Build the density in the core and fix the transit system that connects it. Today, our population estimate has grown to 19,037. Mayor Robert Halfaker and this council are implementing many of the policies we've discussed, balancing continued demand with the community's mandate for quality, walkable places. Our current comprehensive plan identifies specific development intensification areas. Essentially, we are doubling down on our downtown and the emerging uptown district. By prioritizing investment and growth in these 2 specific areas, we aren't just adding buildings, we are stabilizing the economic heart of the city. The goal is to strengthen the uses we already have by providing the density and foot traffic they need to thrive, ensuring that our local legacy businesses remain a vibrant destination. Downtown is the heart of Clemson, and its identity is steadily evolving. We are moving towards a more dense, vertical environment. This is the most appropriate location for our student housing projects like the Youth Center and the Earl because it puts students exactly where they want to be without requiring a car. But this isn't just about student housing. The new plan also looks to diversify with condo-style mixed-use developments for residents who want to live in the center of the action. The bottom line is that more people living downtown means more people eating in our restaurants and shopping in our stores. Density here isn't just about housing, it's about the economic survival and vibrancy of our local businesses. The plan moves toward a policy of designating areas for student housing prioritization. This means we aren't just looking for empty lots. We are looking for opportunity sites where the current use doesn't match the location's potential. For example, if we have an aging two-story apartment complex sitting right against university property, that is an underutilized site. By prioritizing that area for more intense, dense development, we can house more students in the same footprint. This allows us to accommodate the enrollment gap we discussed earlier by going vertical on sites that already have the infrastructure to handle it, rather than letting that demand push into our lower density neighborhoods. If recent public meetings are an indication, this presentation is going to be met with digital pitchforks, accusations of whitewashing, and creative allegations of intellectual dishonesty and cherry picking. I know that in the heat of these debates, simply citing the text of a plan can feel like an act of provocation, but my goal tonight isn't to cherry pick, it's to reunite us with the actual words we, as a community, put on paper. It is a fact that the 2019 Comprehensive Plan reinforces neighborhood protection, but it initially does so with a specific mechanism. The housing element explicitly links the protection of single-family areas to the rental housing ordinance. While the vision for the housing element centered on protecting neighborhood character, the plan doesn't just hope for that protection, it builds it. Based on the 2019 strategies, we are currently executing a three-pronged defense. First, we are mandating physical step-downs and buffering to ensure the intensity of our corridors doesn't bleed into our backyards. Second, we are implementing the neighborhood conservation overlay, a tool specifically called for in this plan to lock in the architectural scale of our residential interiors. And thirdly, we are increasing our commitment to strict property maintenance and code enforcement to ensure the quality of our neighborhoods never wavers. Combined, these tools create a definitive defensive perimeter and allow the core of the city to evolve and grow vertically while ensuring the heart of our single-family neighborhoods remains insulated and intact. We often hear accusations that new developments are out of control, but pages 48 and 49 of the housing element tell a different story. This plan specifically calls for the intensifying of the use of sites close to the university zoned RM3 and higher to protect our other neighborhoods. Proposals like 201 Pine Street and other developments currently in front of the Planning Commission are a feature of the 2019 plan, not a bug. The development community is not ignoring our vision, they are executing it. The 2019 plan sets an ambitious goal to provide a range of safe, clean, and affordable housing while simultaneously protecting our single-family neighborhoods. To many, these two objectives feel like they're in conflict, but in modern planning, they are two sides of the same coin. By encouraging high-density, mixed-use growth within our established commercial corridors, we aren't just building more. We are executing a deliberate strategy to minimize impact on our residential interiors. We don't view these goals as a contradiction. We view them as a necessary complexity of modern land use. We are trying to solve for location and character at the same time, putting the density exactly where it belongs so we can keep our neighborhoods exactly as they are. The land use element of the 2019 plan again reiterates that it is founded on smart growth principles. It promotes intensity in our corridors while assuming that development can act as a shield for our neighborhoods. Goal 12.4 of the land use element is protect our existing neighborhoods and explicitly directs us to maintain R20 and R12 zoning as intact. Accordingly, the neighborhood conservation overlay recently passed by the Planning Commission is a deliberate and strategic tool. It fulfills the 2019 plan goal, protecting the character of low-density residential areas while focusing growth along major corridors. I spent countless hours meeting with residents to ensure this overlay provides the protection where it's needed most. However, I was clear with everyone. While we can protect the heart of a neighborhood, limiting intense adjacent development or development at a neighborhood's gateways would contradict decades of established planning policy in the city of Clemson. So why look back at a 55-year history? To remind ourselves that our current strategy is not a modern anomaly, but a long-standing commitment to a mixed-use core. Over the decades, we have seen the perceived obstacle to our growth shift repeatedly. First, the objection was to the concept of high-density residential buildings in general. Then the shift focused to building height. Today, the conversation has moved toward confusion of whether the city has met a bed count, a metric that often overlooks our strategic goals. The reality we must face is this: if tonight we were somehow to solve for bed counts, the objections would simply shift to a new variable tomorrow. This is because the underlying challenge is not a specific number, but a natural human aversion to change. Prioritizing the most vocal opposition over established long-range plans creates a cycle of reactive governance. When we pivot based on the loudest voices in the room, rather than using data-driven strategies, we perpetuate the very symptoms, like traffic and housing shortages, that those voices are complaining about. While we recognize that growth can be stressful for many in our community, we must also recognize that altering decades of vetted expert planning in response to the loudest voices of the moment is not sound governance. Our responsibility is to protect the institutional integrity of our roadmaps and ensure Clemson remains a resource-efficient, sustainable city for generations to come. And now a reality check. Currently, at the city, county, and state levels, there is no economically viable path for a purely built traffic solution. We do not have the funding or the footprint for major road widenings, new overpasses, or bypasses. Because we cannot expand our way out of congestion, our only sensible option is to reduce vehicle dependency. By prioritizing density near the university, we provide students with viable transit and pedestrian options. Conversely, by pushing development to the edges, we virtually guarantee increased traffic saturation and place an unsustainable load on our CAT bus system. We must also address the fiscal reality of our infrastructure. When we push housing into neighboring municipalities, we don't actually solve a problem. We simply lose tax revenue. The city's infrastructure then continues to absorb the asset degradation and structural wear as these residents commute into our core. But we lose the financial tools to maintain those systems. We are essentially subsidizing the region's growth at the cost of our own pavement and pipes. From a strategic planning perspective, concentrating residential density within a single optimized footprint is a matter of logistical and fiscal common sense. Think of it like this. It is much cheaper for the city to fix one block of pipes that serve 700 people than it is to maintain 5 miles of pipes that serve those same 700 people scattered across town. When we build compact, vertical housing, we get more out of every acre. We don't have to build miles of new roads, water lines, and sewers that taxpayers will then have to pay for forever. By keeping our footprint small, we save money on maintenance and keep the city's budget healthy. Conservation through concentration. Strategic density is not just a housing strategy, it is our most effective tool for land conservation. By approving a single acre of density in the downtown core, we effectively save multiple acres of regional forest and green space from being paved over. When we push development outward, we force the destruction of greenfield sites, forest, and the rolling topography that defines our region. By concentrating growth, we achieve the following. We preserve natural landscapes. By building up instead of out, We protect the rural character and wooded buffers of the upstate from being lost to fragmented subdivisions and fragmented student housing developments. We protect local watersheds. Sprawl creates massive amounts of impervious surface. This increases stormwater runoff into our waterways. A compact footprint minimizes this runoff, protecting our water quality and reducing local flooding risks. And we prevent infrastructure creep. Every new mile of road built into a forest is a mile that the city must eventually pave, plow, and patrol. Ultimately, the most environmentally responsible building is the one with the smallest footprint. Workforce housing. The city can't fix the housing crisis alone. We simply don't have the budget to build all the homes that we would need. However, we have a powerful tool, the free market. When we strategically allow new modern housing for students near campus, it creates a vacancy chain. Students move out of older apartments and small houses, which can then potentially filter those homes back to families and young professionals at a more affordable price. By allowing density where it wants to be, we are actually freeing up homes for the workforce on the edges. New development proposals are not a product of speculation. They are a response to an aging regional housing supply and a new generation that prefers proximity over a commute. Developers are assuming the risk to meet a demand that our current supply does not provide. Competition is our best friend for affordability. It forces older, tired complexes to lower their prices to compete with new ones, which is how we get more workforce housing. Our job isn't to guess how many beds the market needs. Our job is to use our strategic plan to make sure those beds are in the right places. Regulatory, market dynamics, and regulatory consistency. We must recognize that student housing is a response to market demand, not a municipal service to be rationed. We do not attempt to regulate the number of grocery stores, coffee shops, or sub-sandwich shops in Clemson. We trust the free market to determine how many of these businesses our population can support. Student beds should be treated with that same regulatory consistency. When we try to artificially cap the number of beds, we don't actually stop demand. We just make everything more expensive and force developers into areas where we do not want them. By letting the market dictate the numbers, we shift away the risk from taxpayers. If a developer builds too much, they lose money, not the city. Staying the course. For decades, our comprehensive plans have consistently identified the downtown core as the primary, most viable location for mixed-use housing. While growth narratives often vary, the empirical data provided by our current road capacity, coupled with the persistent volume of new development interest, points to a specific structural issue. The challenge we face is not a surplus of housing, but a geographic misalignment of our existing inventory. The current pressure on our road infrastructure is a direct result of the inefficiency of this distribution, with too much of our supply located too far from the university. To maintain consistency with our long-term vision, we must address our housing needs through strategic proximity rather than continuing a pattern of disconnected, auto-centric development. By prioritizing proximity over sprawl, we ensure a walkable, sustainable future for the city of Clemson. Right now, I know every new development feels like a battle because our rules are outdated. We change that by modernizing our code. A zoning rewrite in tandem with strategic overlays acts as a contract with our community. It tells residents, your neighborhood is now protected by law. And it tells developers, if you want to build, here are the exact standards that you must meet. This creates a predictable environment where growth serves the city's bottom line without compromising our character. I'm wrapping up. Since 1971, we have had 11 U.S. presidents, presidential administrations, including Trump 2.0. Now, 9 Clemson University presidents. We have had 8 football coaches and 7 basketball coaches. The city of Clemson has had 7 mayors and numerous councils, administrators, and planning directors. Yet our current plans echo the principles that all the plans the community efforts before them. To be clear, the roadmap I'm describing is not a mandate for the indiscriminate removal of our existing buildings or the displacement of established residences. It is not an out with the old ultimatum. Rather, it's an invitation to return to a standard of governance where we evaluate projects based on our vetted plans rather than our personal preferences. If a proposal aligns with the strategic density we've codified, our responsibility is to honor that commitment. We cannot claim to be a city of laws and long-range visions if we allow the subjective emotions of a single night to override the objective strategies of over half a century. We aren't choosing development over people. We are choosing the integrity of our shared promises over the volatility of a moment. Our primary responsibility is to ensure that our decisions remain anchored in the city's adopted strategic plans. We must balance individual, anecdotal feedback with the long-range objectives that guide this body and staff. Staying true to these established goals allows us to make decisions that are not only responsive to today's discussion, but are also consistent with sustainable growth goals we have collectively established for the city's future. We owe it to the leaders of 1971 to follow the map they started, and we owe it to the residents of 2071 to leave them a city that actually works. Thank you.
I'm looking around.
I'd like to
Thank you.
thank you for, I know, the time that took to put together and the data gathering and putting it in a timeline for us. Really, really appreciate all the work you're doing.
Very impressive, thank you.
Yes.
So I'll reiterate as well, Nathan, thank you very much. The whole team, planning team, I'm looking at them right there as well. Thank you for putting the history, the plan itself throughout the past 50 years. I know this is all timing, is perfect timing since we're looking at our second reading of our comp plan as well.
That's correct.
That's coming up.
Did you learn to use Canva just for this?
I have learned to use Canva recently. Yes.
Any other comments? Any other comments?
Yeah.
All right. Next is to discuss the disposal of surplus utilities. Dusty. You can do 30, are you doing 35 minutes or?
I was thinking about 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. All right. Just keep it under 30. There you go.
So I'm here to discuss with you all, utilities has some vehicles and some equipment they would like to surplus. Of course, as you all are aware, according to our capital policy, if it's valued at $10,000, you will have to give me the authorization to do that. So I'm here to discuss this with you all. Any questions?
We just appreciate you looking at, yeah.
This is the list.
Yes, ma'am.
John Deere. Is that a tractor?
And this is just the same process we've been going through, right?
Correct,
So,
yes.
okay, cool.
And you,
Clear out the shed, make a little room in there.
That's exactly right, yes.
We do appreciate the time you're taking. to
We
do
have
this.
a lot of equipment that can be, cleaned out and out with the old, kind of in with the new situation, so.
Great.
Any other comments? Questions? Thank you.
thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thanks.
Thanks for staying.
All right. Andy, staff reports.
Got a couple things for you. One is the Black History Month luncheon. It's on the 28th. Please let Jeremiah know or let me know if you're planning to attend. We have one other Black History Month nominee who couldn't be here tonight. His name is Coach Earl Gaines, and he's coaching. And they're in the playoffs.
Okay.
So he's doing what he needs to be doing, so we're gonna bring him back the first meeting in March. And the other thing I wanna let you know is that our parking survey is live. So you can go to the website, you can get it off social media. You can go to the planning department, you can get a paper copy if you want. Please fill that out and let us know what you think about parking.
Is there a plan? I know we've got a good job on social media getting that out there, but I think a lot of people will just default to commenting on that post. Is there a way that we can gather that feedback and put it into the survey somehow? Or are we gonna just maybe respond and encourage them to click the link kind of a deal? I'm just thinking ahead because I know how people, my first reaction would just be to start typing, so if we can keep an eye on that.
It's a good question for the consultant, but I think there's valuable data in there. I'm sure they're gonna want to use it. That's all I have.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. All right, next is policy action. 2-minute limit per speaker, just remember that. First is consider second reading of the draft 2045 comprehensive plan. All right.
Hello, my name is Leah Keisner. I'm the planning intern. So we've been working on this comprehensive plan for more than a year. And the first reading was at the last city council meeting on the 2nd of February. And since then, there's been no updates. Thank you.
Appreciate you stepping in and doing that. Ethan, she took over your role.
She's great, yeah.
I like it.
Good job.
Taking oxygen right now.
Nice job. Comments, questions from the public?
Thank you. I'd like to comment about the comprehensive plan that Nathan just made. A lot of times I notice that when things are discussed, there's always the pro. I'm sorry, I'm okay?
No, you're fine.
Oh, you're fine, you're good.
I'm sorry.
That we talk a lot about the pros, okay? And that's great. I mean, that's what this is all about. But we also have to think about what's the trade-off. Like, I don't want to go out and buy an expensive car because maybe I can get another car that's not so expensive, and there's a better trade-off. I'm saying it's the same thing here, just like buying a car. And I guess my main point is that Clemson right now, we're just under 30,000 people, okay? And, well, USC, where are they? They're at 40,000 people, okay? And so when we plan for the future, and this is a plan that goes out to the year 2045, okay, 2045, 20 years away from now. And when Nathan talked about the corridor, mainly College Avenue, well, you look at that real estate there, how can we fit another 10,000 people on College Avenue? We can't do that. And Nathan, I know, wants to talk about my street, which I love, North Clemson Avenue. If you threw in North Clemson and just made it all high rises, you're not going to fit 10,000 there along with College Avenue. So when we look at a long-term plan, I didn't see a map in this presentation. I didn't see the actual numbers of where these people are going to go. My question is, if we truly have a plan to the year 2045, and we're going to grow at the rate we're growing at, and let's just plan for 10,000 more people, 10,000 more students, we're right back to the same, in 5 years, we're right back to the same spot. What if Nathan gets his way on this plan and say College Avenue is developed, we can put another 3,000 people there. Okay, great, and then it's going to fill up. We're right back to the same. I'm sorry, we're right.
I had a timer back here. I'm so sorry it wasn't on the screen, but we have a 2-minute limit.
Okay, what I'm saying is we're going to get right back to the same spot we're in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. Jeremiah, do you have the timer?
I was keeping it on here. It's not on the screen.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
McGinty.
you.
Apologies for not having it on the screen.
Other comments? All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the 2045 comprehensive plan.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is consider second reading of the sublease agreements between the city and Clemson Free Clinic and between the Clemson Free Clinic and Healing Bridges Counseling Center. Lindsay.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
There have been no changes. The first reading was at the last council meeting, and there have been no changes since the first reading. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you want us to vote in the form of a birthday song?
Vote as fast as you can.
Say, did you see that? Woo!
Good.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Comments from the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the second reading of the sublease agreement between the city and the Clemson Free Clinic and between the Clemson Free Clinic and Healing Bridges Counseling Center.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy your birthday.
That was our
Bye.
All right, next is Councilmember Jones. Consider first reading of a text amendment to Chapter 2, 47F regarding absentee.
So this is the same as we've talked about before. This is to encourage voting by all members of council to show where their opinions lie. It is in line with the Municipal Association of South Carolina. It is what's recommended. It just puts us in line with what we're recommended to be doing.
Comments or discussion? All right, from the public?
Robert Lee, 113 Preston Drive. I just looked at some definitions, and there was some confusion. Some abstention is, well, definition of a vote is yes or no. So abstention, I think it clarifies in there is an abstention is not considered a vote. It's considered a refusal or refuse to vote. So just, I think that's clear in there, but I just want to check that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Other comments? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the first reading of the text amendment, Chapter 2-47-F regarding abstentions.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next is consider first reading of a proposed amendment to the townhouse definition in the rental housing ordinance. Jacob.
Hello, we've had this item for discussion before, but here's the formal first reading. Townhouse would be defined as a townhouse unit means a dwelling unit constructed in a group of 3 or more attached units in a single building or series of attached buildings in which no separate dwelling unit is above or below another, and which exterior walls are open to the outside on not less than 2 sides. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions or comments for Jacob? From the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the first reading of the proposed amendment to the townhouse definition in the rental housing ordinance.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you. Thanks, Jacob.
Next, we'll go into other policy items. Is consider awarding a construction manager at risk contract for the design phase of the new arts center facility. Nathan.
So this is for award to Thompson Turner and an amount of $42,000 for construction, well, up to $42,000 for construction pre-services for the arts center. We went through the selection process. It just took us a little while to go through negotiations.
Questions for Nathan, comments? From the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we award a construction management at risk contract for the design phase of the new Arts Center facility.
Second.
All right, comments, discussion? All in favor? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Nathan, you get 2 more. Consider awarding the Toddy's Place Connector project to the qualified low bidder.
Yeah, so the low bidder came in after we had to submit agenda request items. So Foothills Contracting won that at an amount of $165,775.
Any questions or comments for Nathan?
What's it for?
It's a 700-foot section.
Yeah.
It's very short.
Okay.
It's behind it would connect behind the baseball field. It connects the two parking lots.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
this is just.
I was like you, John, I
No,
didn't
this
know.
is just a small section, so like if it's kind of laying the groundwork if we were ever to do anything along the sewer. And we just got a grant to be able to help assist with the cost of this.
Right.
And that's the pricing you expected.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good questions. Comments from the public? Somebody like to make a motion then?
I make a motion that we award the Todd East Place Connector project to the qualified low bidder.
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Any other comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Last, consider awarding the 2026 South Carolina DOT Road Resurfacing Project to the qualified low bidder.
Yeah, so we had 5 bidders on this one. The low bid came in at Civil Pros Inc. with $446,209.22. This is below the grant award, so we're working with them to see if we can add some additional roads.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you're picking up, so I see you're doing the Red Hill roads where y'all been doing the.
We're doing one of the Red Hill roads.
Yeah.
So the Pickens County C funds money can only be used towards state-owned roads. So the only roads we're paving with this contract are state-owned roads.
So then those others are over in, what do you call it, Science Hill? Those other roads?
Yeah.
Right.
So those are it's everything, if you're coming from 76 going towards the university, it's all the roads are located on the right.
Yeah, Crestwood.
Yeah.
Your neighborhood.
My neighborhood, yes. They need to pave the road, so let's go ahead and do this.
So we've got the grant money, which will be used to cover the cost of this, but then there's the overage. Do we lose it if we don't use it?
We're not sure. We're talking to them right now.
Okay. Got it. So if you get additional streets that we could add to this list to use up that $300,000 or $7,000, do you have to come back and do this again?
Probably.
I would say so. Yes.
It's a pretty significant change order.
Yeah, okay.
Well, let's hope we see him again.
That's right, yes.
And just to keep everyone kind of an idea of what's going on, we're having to wrap up our water project over the next month and a half to 2 months. We will then, DOTs will be coming in then and replacing all of the culverts underneath the roads that are degraded to the point of I wouldn't want to walk on them. And then we will be paving after DOT does that. So hopefully all the infrastructure is in great shape prior to
Say that
paving.
one more time.
DOT's got to replace all the
Yeah, I would
pipes,
say,
all the
don't say
stormwater
that to the
pipes.
lady who lives there.
All the stormwater pipes that are under the roads, DOT's going to come and replace at their expense for
Okay.
us. So.
Good questions, good comments from the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we award the 2026 SCDOT Road Resurfacing Project to the qualified low bidder.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Have a great evening. Next is mayor council reports, comments? Everybody's quiet.
I would like to see if it'd be all right for me to join the JCUAB Housing Committee. You've been
You seem
encouraging me to
excited,
do this
Siobhan.
for a year.
That'd be good.
I'd like to join.
Well, I'm on the housing,
Okay.
yeah, I do the housing.
Is there a problem with having 2 council members on?
Well, I know the transportation, because normally we have one representative, but if we can have 2, but. I know
Normally have one, but I
transportation-
mean, this is always, I look at it as always a work in progress with JCAB. We just run it by. I mean, Andy and I mean, yeah, I mean, we basically,
But we need
The whole-
transportation person, so
I know.
there's still looking for volunteers.
so we can get more details. So
Yeah,
to your
we'll figure
point,
it
we'll
out.
bring more details back, but I look at it, the more the merrier, and more city representation, the better off we are, in my opinion.
I'll volunteer for the transportation.
Oh, there we go. See, look at that. Perfect.
Y'all are going to be very sorry.
Well, you say y'all, or when you say y'all, okay, there you go. All right. Appreciate you stepping up, the 2 of y'all stepping up. Thank you.
All right.
All right, other comments or reports? Any new business? All right, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.